Constellation.
Oh, she's your daughter.
Yeah. I have 60. Oh, I would like to speak English. I speak German because German also not my
mother tongue.
Yeah. This sixth channel.
Sixth?
Yes, sixth.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
It's going.
Rolling. Okay. I talk about conflict a little later, but now I would like this spiritually oriented systemic constellation as a therapy of the spirit and cutting edge IT.
Yep.
Sin, guilt, humility, forgiveness through the lens of constellation work. If it's okay for this, okay. Because I have three.
I see you, but I will sit there.
Oh, wait, I have forgot my.
I will sit there.
No
No
worries.
worries.
I have forgot I have my. Sorry.
No worries. Все спокойно. Успокойся. Okay. Where's the stick?
Then about me a little, I have my institute, IIS-Berlin, International Institute for Systemic Constellations. Here, then where I am senior ambassador for Russian speaking people, then World and European Organization for Psychotherapy, teaching therapist in German Society of Systemic Constellation, and master trainer at Fusion International Forum for Systemic Constellation Organizations. Also systemic sexual therapist, systemic trauma therapist. I have developed the 4-part Ben's model, body, emotions, mind, spirit method for short-term therapy of severe trauma. And my first education was mathematics, and then I mastered theologist in Alexander University and participated in the ecumenical congresses in both the monastery and Italy. Yeah. And then about Maria. I would like to say about when it's difficult Maria translate. I only was that Maria. Скажи, что раньше ты читала, но все сказали, что лучше, чтобы я сама.
So when we had her first workshop, the plan was that I was gonna speak on behalf of her. But we realized that she's actually better at pointing out what she wants to say. So she's going to go on and talk. And if you don't understand something, you just raise your hand or give us a sign. But other than that, she will be talking, if that's okay.
It's better when I talk. Okay? Yes. Because I would like sometimes to tell more than here.
Yes.
But here is a little bit, The translation not from me. But yeah. And I would like to say about some things from Bible. Because we understand this not correctly, and it's important for our constellation. It is important for our constellation work. Therefore, the Creator intervened in the evolutionary process only 3 times. All others evolution. The first, the creation of cosmos from chaos. Maria, correct me if I. Yeah. Then creation of life, the second.
If you don't mind, thank you.
And the third is the creation of mankind, of man. Only three. And it's a special verb in old Hebrew.
Testament.
На древнееврейском специальный
In
глагол.
Old Greek.
Old Greek, Old иврит.
I don't know.
Еврейский, старый язык еврейский.
Yeah, the Old Jewish language. I don't
Yeah,
know
language,
the name.
another verb
Is it
for this,
Yiddish?
for creation.
Is it Yiddish? I don't know.
Ну,
Yiddish?
иврит.
Yiddish.
На. English is another.
Does it matter?
Sag's mal auf Deutsch,
Ivrit.
vielleicht können wir auskennen.
In Deutsch.
Also einfach die
The
alte
old-
jüdische
Old Yiddish language.
Hebräisch.
And Hebrew is now in Israel also, this language.
Hebrew.
And in Bible, this verb is another verb for evolution. Yeah. In Deutsch, in Russian, is one verb. And here is therefore we know that is this that God intervened this verb. Have you understood? Что там специальный глагол, Маша, для именно когда Бог пишет, специальный глагол.
So apparently there's a word in that old Jewish language that is specifically used to describe that process when God intervened with evolution, and that's what she's trying to say.
Okay. Good.
Whatever.
And yet a question for you: what is sin? Could you say what is sin for you? Something. What do you mean?
Something against God's law,
Mm-hmm.
something that doesn't respect the life and people around.
No? Because later I would like to speak about a feeling of guilt,
Yeah.
and this together. Therefore,
But that's not the same thing.
Hmm?
Sin and guilt is not the same
Yeah,
thing.
No. But sin.
Sin is for me a moral category.
A moral what?
Moral category. It's a moral concept.
Magana concept.
No, but what does mean for us? What does
That
mean?
you do something wrong against the
Something wrong.
moral rules.
Okay. Okay. Good. Then from Greek, yeah, is only a missing your target when we translate, yeah. No, okay. And what does the person miss? Why does the person miss their target? What is the reason for sin?
I think trauma is a
Yeah.
reason for sin.
Yeah.
It's a moral
Trauma
judgment.
is
It's a
obstacle
moral
between
judgment of
man,
trauma.
yeah, between man and God, and warps us. We aim for God's will, but miss, yeah? It's, yeah. Therefore, it's very important that we understand this word correctly. Thank you very much.
I will see.
It's
If you don't mind.
And when a person resolves their trauma, this means
It's better than the old.
this means when a person resolves their trauma, they move towards God. God was highest, yeah. And therefore it's very, very important our work. Yeah.
I think there's a big misunderstanding in the church about sin.
Yeah. Therefore,
And the
I
devil
can
and so on is just moral categories for trauma.
I'm a theologist, therefore I can say about these things. Yeah.
You what? Theologist.
The second. Second. Yeah. Like, yeah. And what was Adam's sin? What do you mean?
that he went against his divine nature?
Что он пошел против своей натуры.
And more? I have a very good teacher for Bible, for Old Testament, and therefore it's very interesting. Okay.
But what was Adam's sin?
Hmm?
What was Adam's sin?
Yeah.
What was it?
What really was what means? Yeah.
What is the answer?
Yeah. Now in irresponsibility, he passed on his responsibility onto his wife and God. Yeah.
Which responsibility?
Responsibility.
Which responsibility of what?
Какая?
Что какая?
В каком смысле он это сделал?
Он без ответственности, он не взял на себя ответственность. Он
He
свалил ответственность на Бога
basically
и
gave the
на жену.
responsibility away
To
he
his
ate
wife
the
and God.
apple, and he gave the responsibility
Oh.
away to not stay
The
true to
God
what he
asked
was.
why, and he said,
She
"This
told me to do
wife
it.
gave me this apple
Okay.
and you."
Yeah.
Yeah? It's irresponsibility.
Okay.
This responsibility is very, very important for us.
Yes.
We have this learned in this theological education from my teacher for Bible.
Okay.
Therefore, it's not for but it's right. So, yeah. And then a trance of death into the world. Sin must be followed by death, so that man does not live in sin forever.
But it depends on what Bible you're reading, because not in every Bible the apple tree is there, because that would mean God, that people who come to the world are bad, and there are thousands of different versions of the Bible, and not everywhere is the tree with this apple. So we are in this bad and good polarity again this word.
Скажи сама.
Не в каждой Библии эта история есть, и она хочет сказать, что эта история очень поляризирует. Хорошие люди, плохие люди, а она говорит, что не в каждой Библии это так.
No, Bible is going old. Как бы перевели?
In the Old Greek,
Old Greek is Old Greek.
sorry, Old Jewish, sorry.
Old Jewish is only one. It's translations, different translations. And we learned from people from these old languages, Old Greek and Old Jewish.
But what if sin is just a construction, a construct?
I mean, I think what she's trying to get at is that there is one Bible that is in most Christian churches considered to be
The main one.
the main one,
Okay.
and she's referring to that one. But yeah, obviously everything is sin is a construct, guilt is a construct, love is a construct.
Yeah.
Or what do you? Sorry, I can definitely say something.
But you mean the Old Testament?
The Old Testament
Old
in its
Testament.
classical sense.
Classical. But
Hebraic.
in 1980s years, I learned this theology, and we learned that only maximum 30% from Old Testament is together with history. All others is myth.
Myth, like a myth.
Like
myth.
Mhm.
So that's what she.
in Old Testament, New Testament, no. And then for me, constellations is a miracle of God. They can untangle things that would have been unbelievable before. You know this. Yeah? And what is sickness for? Sickness for me is a symptom, a sign who do we need to consider to gain resources for a happy life. Only sign. And there is a hope that we will disentangle ourselves from sin and start reaching our goals. If we resolve their trauma, people will live longer and happier. No, it's
That's a quote from the Bible.
And in the gospel, Christ released people from sin and healed them simultaneously. The world is designed in such a way that there are invisible laws that affect everyone's life. Modern science
Has. Has hardly. Sorry, it's just one word now. It's literally just one word. Sorry.
Has partly revealed them.
Ich has Ubschön
Yeah,
mit Okay. All good now. Okay.
Here. It's partly revealed them and taught us to use them properly. And the reason why people don't reach their goal can be found in systemic laws. And knowing these laws allows us to understand the true reasons behind problems and find good solution. Quote from Einstein: "We cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking that created them." And there are three main systemic laws in the world. It's from Bert Hellinger, and all called orders of love. We know this. Therefore, I made this. Order is the foundation principle upon which all else is built. Order is stronger than life, and Mariana Franke-Griggs, the German constellator, said that order is the vessel and love is the water. If we break the order, love is flow away. Yeah?
Will.
If order is absorbed within a system, then love will follow through it freely. No, the first, no, we know this, no, certainly involve everyone. Every member of system has a right to a place within it. A small example: a mother comes with
Should
a...
Should I read the example? Is it easier for you to read?
Example for this.
Okay.
A mother comes in with a request. Her highly capable son gambles and lost his business. During Constellation, we found that her grandfather left her grandmother with her young father and left to America, and he did not support them. The grandmother never spoke of him, and when the grandmother took the Constellation, after 2.5 months, the mother called and said that son gave up gambling and found a job. Only this Constellation. Because this law. No, the second is those who enter the system first have priority, and parents are higher in hierarchy than children, older siblings higher than younger. And for me, it's important the commandment honor the father and the mother through the lens of Constellation law. And for me, is only don't judge, only 3 things. Don't judge, don't remand what cannot be given. And the second, very important, but it's very difficult, don't rescue your parents, your ancestors. Yeah? This is the main. This, what we make in our constellation is directly this, not rescue. Yeah? Okay. So for me, these commandments, only these 3 things. But, yeah, and law of balance, like the law of, for me, is like the law of conservation of energy. Yeah? Any relationship, especially partnership, the give and take must be balanced. Yeah? And exception, parents only give, children only take. An example, if A harms B and does not compensate then their life, as descendants pay for what's due. And a client comes in with a problem. His staff were more expensive than he could afford. HR did not did what they could, but with no result. So the situation became ridiculous.
Yeah.
There were attempts to reduce numbers, but she is pregnant, he gets a disability, and this he could not do anything. At first glance, it looked like a fatal turn of events. It even came to threats of bankruptcy. At some point, he turned to a systemic specialist. And in Constellation, figured out that the reason his grandfather was director of a large chemical plant in GDR, which caused serious harm to its employees and locals. And grandfather did not know this. It was late. And the session took 2 hours, but after 2 weeks, the client brought his the firm out of under the threat of bankruptcy. And the firm has been thriving for 5 years now. Only small examples that this was very important. You know this, yeah? And for me, constellation work is manifestation of the works of Holy Spirit in the world. Systemic constellation contains everything taught by Christianity. Constellation work is the manifestation of the actions of the Holy Spirit in the world, which gives us the opportunity to reach balance and harmony, or in other words, to reach the kingdom of God within ourselves. And all God's commandments are contained in these 3 orders of love. Yeah. And they are in all cultures. Yeah? And we gain access to unique information through systemic constellations. Its source can only be the highest, or another. Shikzalis. It's not so important how we name this, but the heart.
Schicksal is fate for everyone who doesn't understand.
And when we're speaking, for me, systemic constellation is a science. In another presentation, I can send you another. I had about three generations of science. The first one from Aristotle, statistical, yeah. Then our classic science is from Galileo, and the third is resonance theory. And systemic constellations belongs to the third. It's in my first presentation, but it serves only. And we're speaking of science. This is, I name is cutting edge quantum information technology. Information is transmitted on the frequency of spiritual vibration. The first mathematic, therefore, it's important to me that we are speaking about science. That's what we do. But science for, I think, for next 2 centuries. Yeah. Yeah. And it's very important that God is freedom, and we give this freedom to our clients during constellation. The client is responsible, it's very important, for their life, and we are responsible only for process. But it's very, very difficult to be responsible for the process. It's important that client, responsible for their life. And client said, actually, I ask why something, I don't know. Then I ask, and who knows? Because it's his responsibility. He must know about his, he or she, about his or her system. Yeah? It's very important to напомнить клиенту, to remind the client that he is responsible for his life, for his or her life. Okay. And I have 35 years experience of working with people, and people come with problems, health, serious illnesses, including systemic one, hepatitis C. Ну, у меня были эти случаи, скажи, что
I mean, that is like from her
Experience.
From my experience, hepatitis C, lupus erythematosus, mental disorders and so on, relationships problems, money and so on, and chronic resentment towards people around them and life in general. And through Constellation, the person understands which laws were broken and make changes to their life in order to reinstall proper order. As a result, life works itself out, liberally the blind see and the lame walk. Yeah? And systemic illness, schizophrenia disappear. Relationships work out. Life becomes worth living. The person becomes grateful for everything. And for me, what we do is systemic constellation. The client must understand why he must be grateful. And почему он должен быть? Почему он должен быть благодарен и кому?
why the person has to be grateful and to whom.
Mm-hmm. And then he can think, thank you, wow, and so on. But he must understand. Therefore, in my model, I think that the body, emotions, mind, and spirit, that mind is very important. Many psychologists that, please, your brain, your mind, away, now. But later I think that it's very important part from us. And the result in Constellation, Constellation book are described in the feedback section. With my from feedback is linked. And then what Christ truly raises human dignity and never places feelings of guilt. It's very important. Never. And repentance does not mean beating one's chest and saying, I am bad, I am bad. Repentance from Greek means to turn, only to turn. To turn, to change one's mind, to turn away from death to life. Only this. No, from God to he went from God, he must turn to God. Only this repentance. Yeah. And feelings of guilt are rather the opposite of repentance. And feelings of guilt are the enemy of mind. Guilt moves a person into the position of a victim and never lets out. Yeah? Okay? Is
that clear?
Yes, скажи, вы согласны с этим?
Or do you agree with that?
We agree with
Do
this.
you agree with that notion?
This feeling of guilt is very bad feeling. Yeah? And spirituality means not to disguise guilt as repentance and submission as humility. The tax collector were not ritually pure before. Therefore, anyone who touched them, anyone who had any dealings with them had to spend a long time cleansing themselves. They were hated. And Zacchaeus was the manager of the tax collectors. That is a sinner among sinners, and a rich and important official. But he wanted to see Christ, and he climbed a tree, ignoring the laughter, and unheard self-depreciation. This would be like it would be like the mayor of Moscow climbing a street lamp. All of people laugh, yeah, but he did this, yeah, and then what does Christ do? He says to tax collector, "I will come visit you and share a meal with you," and it was very, very. Christ detonates everything that was proper at that time. He puts a sinner who was excommunicated from his church in a high position. He raises his dignity to unheard of heights. And the result, Zacchaeus brings the fruits of repentance. What I took from other, I will return for is our third law here. And Christ brings Zacchaeus into the system, gives him the honorable place by coming to his home. Zacchaeus follows the law of balance. И глядит, что раньше еда это было священное дело, и что могли приглашать только близких, знакомых.
And in older days, I'm not sure if she's referring to the church or not, but food was considered something holy. So when you invited someone in to share a meal with you, it would be considered a holy thing, which is important to the context of this story.
И сейчас на Востоке тоже, в общем, такие традиции мусульманские. На Востоке. East.
In the East,
East countries.
that's still the case in the East. In Muslim countries,
It's
that
also
can be
yes.
the case. I'm not
Not
sure.
only Muslim, also in Greece, we invite people for us and to come
No,
home and
some of them.
yes, and eat with us. It's hospitality.
Some of them is very, very очень строго.
Yeah, it's very strict in some
Very strict.
cultures,
In some cultures it's very strict. Now also not.
not just back then.
And in Constellation, we ask the client to say thank you for everything. Why? We always choose life before conception.
Something not clear?
I'm just wondering if I lost track at the beginning, so I wonder if I just step outside because I can't connect to. I'm not sure what we are doing here, to be honest.
Ну, мы скажи, что мы скоро мы уже сейчас придем к остановкам, еще чуть-чуть.
She's like almost at the practical part.
Okay.
If you want to stay.
Ну, не так сразу, что мы сейчас придем, нет, здесь тоже придем к остановкам, я просто расскажу, как я
She's
работаю.
just giving a background and she's going to talk about why this connects to
А это
what she
причина,
wants to do.
почему я так
So
работаю. Здесь я объясняю причину, почему я так работаю.
she just wants to explain why she works the way she works. If you're just willing to be patient and hear her out, she would appreciate it, but obviously no one was forced to do this.
And now is very important for Constellation work, что скажи, что меня учили, что ты науку говоришь, что мы выбираем жизнь зачатия, это наука, не я придумала. Скажи.
That's what she was taught, that that we choose life before.
Что наука говорит, что we always choose the life before conception is from science. I learned so that is from science, from modern science. And therefore, his difficulty, the client chooses himself. Therefore, the aggressor is a part of their choice. And then we can ask, why do you choose your life so? Yeah, it's to Constellation. It's not. Okay. And it's harder to live life as an aggressor, then a righteous man, explicit or implicit guilt. And aggressor does something important for us. He did something to our ancestor, without which we would not have been born. And if my client understands this, then there's come another behavior. Если клиент это понимает, то он по-другому себя ведет уже.
Once the client understands that, their behavior and way of thinking will change.
That without the difficult sins by ancestors, he not have been born.
Yeah, so the course of history would have not gone the way it did if the ancestors did not sin or behave in the way they did, and everything was for a reason, basically.
That is why we have to be thankful to the source of life and aggressor also. Okay, can I continue? Okay. And if the aggressor is in our family line, we would not have been born without him. Plus, he took onto themselves the difficulties for our family system and became the aggressor themselves instead of us, trying us. So in Constellation, we give him back his burden, sin, and free ourselves and all his descendants and take the resource from the aggressor for happy life. In Constellation, we take resources from victims and from aggressor. Yeah? Okay? Therefore, speak about this thing. And within burdens, the energy is like twisted into a spring, is my imagination. Yeah? And there is a lot of it. This energy can be released and taken, which is what we do in constellations. The harder things are for the client, the more potential they have. The more difficult trauma, more resources we can take from this. This is energy. Law of conservation of energy. Yeah. This energy is in subconscious very twisted very. Что у нас сжато, очень эта энергия.
Yeah, the
Правильно,
pressure is very high. I don't know what.
но она скручена,
Yeah, I mean,
как пружина.
yeah, you basically said it the right way.
Okay, understood here? I asked the client to say the following address to her grandfather who raped his own daughter. And here I need this brain, this sentiment. Yeah? Here only this sentence. Dear great grandfather, I see all difficult things you have experienced and my soul shudders because it cannot accept this. But in my mind, I understand that if there had not been such a situation, I would not have been born. And I thank you for my life that was given to me at such high costs. And I bow low with all my love and respect to all the difficult things you have experienced, to such a high price you have had paid for my life. They usually explain that it's much more difficult for a person to be an aggressor than a righteous man. For instance, that Hellinger said some very important words, approximately like this, approximately not this, but he said that, for instance, is responsible wife of this man. But from that Hellinger, not for me, but yeah. And when the client considered the meaning of these words, then a simple statement of fact that there are no case of incest, the young woman would have married another, and our client would not have been born, only this. And then he gains the strength to bow. And then after this, the chance to shrink, to look the aggressor rapist in the eyes and take the corresponding resources. One can say that in this case the intellect changes from a guard into a co-worker. This example is how intellectual aikido leads to emotional, spiritual, and sometimes physical goals. It's very, very important. Yeah.
Was that clear? I'm not sure if the point came across. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, but I feel a bit resistance to this. This is very Bert Hellinger, but there has been critique on Bert Hellinger that he's very dogmatic, and if you link it to religion, for me it becomes even more dogmatic. So for me, system constellations is a phenomenological something, and with what you are talking, for me it becomes dogmatic. And I'm a bit, I don't fully agree with you. I know it's very original, Bert Hellinger.
It's not from Bert Hellinger. What I mean, it's not from Bert Hellinger, no, only that Bert Hellinger for incest said so. But for me, I have many constellations with incest. I don't know why the clients come.
Mm-hmm.
And my experience is that it's very difficult for client to, especially difficult for
for people who
believe.
Christian or in some form of religious circle.
Yeah, more difficult for these people. Because they say it's no possible that my ancestors, yeah, it's clear. Я скажу по-русски, переведи. И что для меня, я просто видела, как они не могут это принять, клиенты. У них очень серьезные в жизни проблемы. Они не могут этого принять, переводи.
So in her professional experience, as she was treating a lot of people who had incest in their system, she just saw that they cannot accept the fact that such a thing happened within their system, but still their life would be very messy. They would experience a lot of trauma, and that's what she observed. Yeah.
И когда они видят, что у них это было, и когда они говорят эту фразу, кланяются, и потом еще некоторое время им нужно, чтобы это воспринять своим интеллектом.
And once they say that phrase and kind of understand with their mind that this is what happened, not saying that they already feel it, but they understand it with their mind,
то иногда они говорят, а я тогда не хочу жить.
then they say, well, then I don't want to live.
Потому что мне очень жалко мою, например, там, бабушку или прабабушку.
If my life comes to such a cost, then I don't want to live. I don't want my ancestors to have suffered such a severe traumatic event if this is.
Они начинают спасать свою бабушку.
And then they start to jump into a role where they want to rescue that person.
И тогда я могу спросить, а тогда твои дети бы тоже не родились?
And then my mom proceeds by asking, well, then your children would have not been born either.
И тогда постепенно они начинают понимать через голову, через ум, через интеллект.
And this is where they start kind of to like fathom what it actually means that their life came to such a high cost.
И потом, уже после того, что они осознают головой, приходят чувства.
And only then their emotions kind of activate and they can emotionally understand that their life came to such a high cost. So
It's very difficult work for the client, but it works, and then after these constellations, жизнь просто меняется очень сильно. У меня очень много примеров и отзывов на
And what my mom experienced in her professional work is that once that happens, a lot of change happens in their lives. And it's not, можно мне ответить на один вопрос, and it's not really about God or any form of religious concept. It's more about the symbolic meaning behind it. So she's not trying to force religion on anyone. It's just that in religion that has been taught, and she's using that in her work to symbolically bring her point across. Yes.
It's all about the creator of our constellation field. Also creation of life. Our constellation field is miracle. It's information about our ancestors. It's not for us, from us. It's subconsciousness. Yeah. Okay. And here then this is where help in the form of supportive therapy is required to internalize resources gained in this constellation. It's very, very important. There's a supportive therapy after this. No, for me, it's an analog of Christian faith, only for me. But and when the client overcomes and thinks, absolutely amazing results for you. Changes in life and so on. Yeah? With this hepatitis and other illness go away and so on. Yeah? Okay. And once more, the deeper the pit of the trauma, the higher the mountain you will climb, the more resources you can obtain. And then one more question is, what is evil? What is its source? What do you mean?
I can feel the source of the evil, that it's the trauma that makes someone bad.
A source. No, trauma also, but no, okay, I say, who does Satan serve? I find them. The Satan is one we reject during our baptism. And as every psychologist knows, that we reject becomes a part of us. Okay? Yeah? Yeah? And of our subconscious. Yeah? From the monotheistic point of view, whom does Satan serve? In the end, he serves God, who turns evil into good. This is miracle. The God turned evil into good. Yeah? And this is a great miracle. We grow from all our difficulties. Temptations and difficulties lead us to personal and spiritual growth. Yeah? And in every moment, a person has choice. A choice to go towards life or to go death. And they are responsible for this decision. We cannot change the past, but the future is in all things in their hands. Systemic constellations help us make this decision consciously. Yeah? And just as God leaves a person freedom of choice, so do systemic constellation. Yes, very important for me that way.
The free will.
Give this freedom to our client. Yeah. And the last thing is very, very important. When we say, I forgive you, what is about? The more we give, the higher we rise. The more we take, the lower we descend. I forgive you is said from above. Yeah? I forgive you, it means that I'm up, my plan. Yeah? It's not right. Yeah? It's not right what we learn, what we teach and learn in the church. I forgive you. It's almost always, it means to forget. Yeah? To forget. What we forget is subconscious. It's not right from psychological view, for example. Yeah? And according to Bert Hellinger, evil should be answered with evil, but with less of it. And good should be answered with good and more of it. Yeah? It's the Old Testament. So, yeah, when somebody take your sheep, you cannot take a cow. So, yeah, only smaller than sheep or was smaller than sheep. Yeah? And it's, yeah, and то есть объяснить, что в Библии стоит не что ты глаз за глаз, а что не более чем глаз. Если овца не более чем овца, скажи.
She's just referring to that quote from the Bible where it says, eye for eye, I don't know.
Teeth out of tooth.
Глаз за глаз.
Tooth out of tooth.
Yeah, tooth for, she's just saying,
Yeah.
not tooth for tooth, but like you take less than what you were taking from.
Only less. Not this, but this or less. Okay. And Christ said, forgive and you shall be forgiven. What was he talking about? And many have not grown to reach Christian forgiveness. They will speak of something different and not of I forgive. And my father, Alexander May, saw the criminal as a child in mother's arms, and here the child is still pure. And this was some sort of solution. But in Constellation, we go even deeper, we go to the very root, from my point of view. Yeah? It seems we should give, the question is how. When a holy man speaks to a bandit who is robbing and beating him and says, I understand, he says, I'm sorry that I'm irritating you so much. What does he mean? We know this from many talks, да, рассказов. Tales from из многих рассказов о святых, скажем, мы это знаем, такие истории.
Many, is it not a gospel, it's about saints, from tales about saints.
And we are taught to see a part of God within the criminal. And given that I have some, given that I have somehow provoked him, this means there must be something wrong with me. Yeah. And Christian forgiveness is when we enter, no, it's for me, the meta level. For example, see the trauma behind the offender. We see the reason why he does this and understand that we are not better than him. That is for me what makes this holy man. Yeah? And a trauma is usually only a replication of a larger, more severe trauma inherited from the family line of the offender. And Berkeley will find the representatives of the victims and the aggressors of the client system and places them opposite each other. Here we often speak of the dead. Спроси, кто-то из вас видел, как Берkeley это делал? Может быть, видел.
Has anyone ever seen how Bert Hellinger did this? Like witnessed?
Victim, aggressor, viewed by Bert Hellinger. You view this. It's fantastic energy here. And no, I said about this. And generally, the aggressor can say, "I regret," and can look at the victim. And where does the victim look throughout this? Aggressor can say, "I regret," and what do victim?
Yes.
Куда она смотрит?
Where does the victim look? What do you think? While the aggressor was apologizing and looking straight.
No, he said, "I regret." What does? Что делает victim? Куда она смотрит?
Я уже объяснила.
Ага, да. And the victim normally either turns away or, is more often, stands with their head held high and looking above the aggressor. And because he or she is hierarchically high, victim is up, выше, high. And Bert asked the victim to say, "If I were in your shoes, I would have been no better." But that to victim say this to aggressor. And when the victim understands the meaning behind what is happening, he often lowers his eyes and meets the aggressor's gaze. I view this 3 or 4 times that Hellinger, and in my constellations is also 3 or 4 times this in constellation. For students, we make this exercise for students and always this result. Yeah, and here something miracles happens. They begin to slowly move towards each other. In the end, it's not 100%. This eye contact, господи, контакт глаз.
Yeah, eye contact.
Eye contact is 80% approximately. This movement also, but more often that they not hug each other, but they here victim and hearers, not together, but movement is almost always, yeah. And if they hug another, then is energies we are all in the heaven. all the group, all of the people. It's very, very, very miracle. Yeah. And during everyone present freezes, this is like a holy act. It feels like up in heaven they are truly embracing human ancestor. Yeah? And this is true, for me, this is true Christian forgiveness. It's not from up. Yeah? It's, it was 20 or 30 years я думала об этом много лет, скажи.
She's thought about that for many years.
And with the help of Constellation work, I understood. So, this from meta position to understand why почему я притянула этого человека.
Why I attracted that person.
И что у меня в системе что-то было, что, может быть, кто-то его обидел.
That in my system there was something that may have like insulted the other.
И сейчас речь о резонансе.
And if we're talking about resonance.
И более того, что мне это важно и полезно.
And for some reason that was important for me to experience that, or it was important for the ancestors in that system to experience that. Я не поняла.
Ну что мне самому полезно, что он пришел, ну преступники раньше говорили, что я его притянула сама.
So I in that meta level and attracted that specific thing that happened within my system because it was important for me to learn something from that experience.
It's okay, yeah. And in the church, the rule we teach is wrong. That forgive. It's not so light to forgive, but we must understand why it's so with me from this person. So good. And in this case, I mean that this healthier to live in the Old Testament and answer with a small evil, what said Hellinger, then yeah, and we must enter the middle position. Yeah, yes. Yeah. Why is this situation with us? Yeah? And this is an example of the work with tangible darkness. But I'm not sure that I must show this as heart constellation. Better I show you something about conflict and some another examples. It's more легче понять.
She will show you a different example where it's easier to understand.
Скажите, я сейчас переключу другую презентацию.
Не надо.
Скажи.
She just wants to switch to a different presentation to give you an example that is more like feasible.
Erika, going to present the whole presentation?
No, just the example.
No, something.
Мама, не очень хотят, чтобы ты писал это, но что ты сделал, что ты да.
Да, я хочу сказать очень важную вещь, которая на второй презентации тоже есть, но здесь мне regulations, very important things to my... Скажи, что я хочу сказать, как я работаю, для этого мне нужно... Here the very important document, manifest for a post-material science, about the spiritual important things for science. Сделай текущий about this, I would like to say something about why systemic constellation is cutting edge. Is information technology. We take information in constellation, yeah? And the first was in kinesiology in 64 from George George Bukia. Он был химик, да?
He was a chemist.
Then is a science of how DNA communicates, linguistic wave genetics, and systemic constellation is not Berlin, but Church of Berlin and ASTHERAPY simultaneously developed this method. And there are physical devices whose function is to detect changes in the biological field of the client, wave characteristics, and after systemic constellation. And this device, I bought this device, and I, as a mathematician, I could not believe that people said that away illness and so on. I needed to test, and therefore I bought their expensive physical device, and in my groups I take this information before group, in every pause, after every constellation, and in the end. And this is for one client. I will fantastic. It's only three slides, and here the picture shows fragments of video recording of client N at one of the constellation seminars. The image is mirrored, so client's left side. Client left side.
Here. So the left side is right and the right side is left.
Yeah,
the way
it's-
it is in the same way it is
It's
in
been
the yeah, mirrored. It's mirrored.
Yeah, and the first fragment was taken before the seminar. We can see the yellow here. Yeah, yellow here, blue. And the heart chakra is the same color. And the most intense chakra is to see. The most intense chakra is the throat chakra. Here is orange. Yeah, and the client was the one who came with the problem of self-actualization. His
That was what he was asking.
I
I don't know what the word is. But
He was making himself a victim.
no, like when the person comes with certain
His request was
Okay.
Request was with self-actualization, but also he had this center is responsible. This center, and the client also has frequent engine and thyroid problems.
Okay.
It's also here, and here we can see this. Okay, then The second fragment was taken during a break after N stood as a representative in another client's constellation. And we can see this effect here is, instead of orange, yellow, and the vibrations of all chakras increased significantly. Yeah.
And what exactly is measured?
Что эта машина?
Frequencies of our
Aura?
of our four всех 4 уровней. Она меряет вибрации на 4 уровнях.
It measures vibrations on the
what?
It's like this aura devices for aura. It's frequencies in color.
You have
I have this. Yeah, I have
and how
this.
does it work?
Hmm?
How does it work?
With hand, and then они прибор мерит вибрации от руки.
It measures the vibrations.
So you put your hand on the body of the client.
No. Client themselves put his hand
On the device.
on the device, and we have color in computer.
Of the whole body.
Computer is connected with the device, and we can see here на экране, мы можем сказать, картинку.
So yeah, you put your palm
This.
on that device, and then it measures it, and then you can see your whole body.
It's
on
photo
the computer.
photo from this.
This
You have it here?
no
No, we have it home.
Okay.
It's very
heavy.
not so heavy, but yeah. And it costs much time. Что я раньше это делала много лет. I have hundreds of these photos, but last 4 or 5 years I haven't
It seems
no time.
logical that if trauma is solved,
In Berlin I can show.
Sorry, yeah.
it seems normal that if trauma is solved, the body releases.
Yeah.
I'm a body therapist. It's absolutely completely logic.
Yeah.
If you do it with this method or you do it with somatic therapy, tension release in the body.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a different way to approach it.
Поэтому сейчас я это не делаю.
But because I mean, what she was trying to say is she has done that for many years.
Yeah.
But then she realized it's very time costly and
It costs time. It
It
costs
was time.
I'm just asking, you know, I believe you.
I would like to say only was, как меня, как и математика, я не верила людям, которые говорили, что у меня ушла болезнь. Я думала, что, может быть, она вернется.
yeah.
Правильно?
I mean, okay.
Я была математиком.
Okay, I'm gonna say it, but don't rush.
Okay.
As a mathematician or as a person who believes in science, she could not believe that illnesses or trauma just went away like that. So that helped her to
Sure.
make
To prove it.
understanding of it. Yeah, prove it for her. So.
This
But-
was necessary for me. Now,
Now she believes
Now you
it.
believe
And
it, you
therefore,
feel it.
but I would like to, it's a miracle for me. It's
Yeah.
only one role. One is the first constellation, and my client was as a representative only. And is the.
But even through representation, we can solve our traumas and stuff many
okay,
times.
then. And then after his own constellation is this one. Here. And here is symmetric, blue, and here is green. It's all frequencies.
He speaks with his heart.
Right.
I am.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Only to show that it was not as imagination, but yeah. Okay, then, and for me it's not a psychotherapy, but therapy of the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my model, And early I worked with trauma with this model because I would like to to see what makes trauma with client, and what is, for example, in trauma situation, approximately 70% that emotions showed another direction. Yes, these pictures, the intellect is very high.
You have to use the English one.
Oh yeah, very, very high. So yeah, and when this harmonious is
When they come in harmony again, in order.
when harmony, no, it's ideal here, but it's so что если идеально.
Yeah, okay, can I just quickly go back? So this is before the constellation, and the emotions are looking in the, if you put a person like a representative for the emotions, they look away. What he's trying to say is when there's a harmonious, like after the constellation, this would be.
No, after constellation, not so, it's ideal. Это идеальная картина.
Yeah, that would be the ideal of how they would stand in a harmonious system.
So, круг, полукруг, circle, half circle, or circle. Okay. Then about this intellect is from Anderson, the steadfast tin soldier is always in our constellations. And when it's very difficult, then instead of intellect is spirit in this way. Окей, я сейчас, подожди.
Тебе помочь?
Нет, сейчас, подожди. It's the picture of this. Yeah. And I would like to say about and when I introduce to my the figure of spirit, it becomes clear what needs to be. Now I would like to say something to our practical work. It's very important, I would like. And I place the figure of Tao. I work very many years from 2012 with a Constellation, an online group. It's not as with COVID, very many people, but with real representatives with body and so on, and therefore it's much longer than normal constellation. And therefore now this model is not so important for me. I put only figure of spirit, and then it's immediately after the introduction of the client spirit, it becomes clear who needs to be worked on and how to turn the difficult, including failing situations, into a resource, spiritual aikido, and how to best receive gained resources and integrate them into their life. This is more important, how to integrate.
Can I propose something? Would it be more useful for us to
and now I say what I
do something practical.
Yeah, but you must understand what I do.
We can
use it in your work. Yeah, this slide. This slide is for me is very important. I orient my constellation field in the highest values when working with serious dogma. And the advantage is clarity, precision, and energy. And I would like to show you now. Could you this chair, because it's here what I would like to show. And then, for example, is choose between A and B, and advantages and disadvantages in each one. Yeah? And the representative of the client of the client's spirit speaks the following phrase: according to the will of the source of life. For example, water is not important, is the highest value of my client. Yeah? He said that according to the will of the source of life, I is right for me now. Yeah, and then next this figure turns and feel is right relative to the direction of the will of source of life. For example, I say A is right for me, yeah, from highest view, and then I turn myself, and for example, and then I look this angle for A, and then I say B is right for me, and also, and now in B is this angle меньше угол, как сказать?
When the angle is
smaller, then B is more right for me. So we can test all of very difficult things in constellation. For example, this request or this request. This in severe trauma cases is very often client from loyalty would like to take another representative to go away from, and therefore I test, and then we must be resonance. Without resonance, I say that I cannot work. It's very important. And if it's resonance, then we look this representative or this with this. And this is very is 30 seconds. It's not so much time. And then because I need, in these cases, I need to make this optimal constellation, optimal maximum resources and minimum time. And therefore, I make this method, and then we choose the variant with a smaller deviation, and it allows the therapist to pick out the optimal version of therapy, which will bring the maximum resources possible, and to the client, the more easily and quickly integrate the results of the therapy into their life. I have seen so many good constellations. The client is happy, and after 1 week, month, is all as early. No result. Yeah? Therefore, it's very hard to client to receive the resources after constellation. And therefore, when he take more resources, then it's lighter for him. It's from my experience, lighter for him or her to receive this, to integrate it into.
And what are resources for you?
Resource from constellation. He take resources from constellation, and when I work so, then a client can take more resources, and more resources means that is lighter to integrate it.
Я спасибо, что такое
Ресурсы, ну это что он берет расстановки, он берет ресурсы от своих предков. He take resources from his ancestor. Energy, or I don't know. We gain resources from constellation, and then client can change their life. And more resources, more lighter to change. Yeah? It's my experience. It's only that and therefore I make so, because it's classic. It's impossible to work with trauma, as was in this presentation earlier. With trauma in Germany, we need 6 months before we can confrontate a client with their trauma. 6 months. And our Krankenkasse insurance, pay. For example, in Russian, it's not paid. And it's very, very difficult for clients with trauma. Or if insurance pay also is 6 months after trauma, I have my experience with this people. Yeah. Therefore, Constellation is very good. It's very good. Yeah. Okay, and no, it's at first I wrote with my yes for moment and other, and this fast moment. And then about conflict, yeah, about conflict, because I would like today to work with conflict, yeah, and conflict. We offer a systemic view of conflict, yeah? And conflict is viewed as a symptom. One that splits the integrity of a system, which we'll call the larger system, not large but larger system. Yeah. And the task is to restore lost integrity. My first method of integrated psychotherapy of psychological trauma is optimally suited to this. Yeah? And the model integrates the best achievements of various methods of short-term psychotherapy, such as spiritually oriented, oriented to the highest value of the client, systemic constellations, body orientation therapy, yeah, then gestalt therapy, emotional, many kinds of story, color, dance, sound therapy, and dance, yeah. And the method is universal. It works with interpersonal conflict as well as with conflict within organizations, families, groups, and societies. Symptoms of society and organization remind of the individual's symptom. Now, I have here also how I work with organizations and with society traumas, as religions or national conflicts. This was Tuesday, but I can send you if you give me I give my
Card?
Yeah, card, and yes, all the contacts, and if you send me, then I send back both of presentations, and you can look, yeah. And conflict within a society, the most, and is one part of the personality, the aggressor was against another victim, yeah. And however parts can change places or jump around Hartman's drama triangle. Therefore, the therapy method is even very similar to treatment as an individual symptoms, yeah, and also with organization. And now, resolution is always found in the same level of a system in which the conflict began, yeah, and therefore the key figure in the treatment is the larger system, which includes both sides of the conflict here in this picture, yeah? Here conflict, and here larger system, yeah? It's a very good picture for me, yeah. And therapy begins with a structural consideration in which we place the larger system as well figures, I think at first A and B, the parts of conflict, then a figure of conflict themselves, conflict. And the fourth figure is this larger system. And due to this, the client can in a short period of time see the core of the problem and decide what to do next and how to do it. This larger figure is the reason for this conflict. This ancestor, they include the reason of this conflict, yeah? And in difficult cases of constellation therapy in general, we use another of my methods which help also. No, here I I have some examples of it's for the example we work with COVID-19 for very for patient with for very difficult disease and then 5 minutes. Only I say what about disease?
Natalia, I think so it's not really reasonable to continue now because
No, the examples
Nobody can
are
follow
very, I think not
I have the
more.
feeling that
Only
nobody
I
can
would
follow you.
like only to tell what was in this, and then you can. And then
yes,
I
of course,
added.
but you can't. I don't have the experience that we understand you right now. So
What,
it doesn't
okay,
make
what,
any
what,
sense to
okay, I
continue.
can make it later or
You know.
no, yeah. What is your, что вы хотите сейчас? Мы сейчас можем сразу начать работать или вы хотите маленькую паузу?
Do you need a short break, or she would start with the practical part right now?
Yeah.
Practical,
It would be good to
practical.
have
Okay.
a break, a small one, and
Then I would
have
like
to practice
to know
practical
what
parts.
is your.
Because
Okay, then.
Then 5-minute break, or
Мне не надо, выключи.
Они сказали, что не нужно.
Да. Then, тогда садишься сюда.
Okay, so I'm not sure. Do you need a break?
yeah,
Yeah. A short break.
would be nice.
Much time, 2 minutes for you to go. And then I ask your
2
requests.
2 minutes for a break.
No,
10 minutes would be right.
I thought that I have 5 hours, then break, then 3 hours. No, this constellation is devoted. It means that we need time. Okay. No, if you will.
So
5 minutes, okay?
yes. And maybe it's another
No,
way of just
it's
trying out what you can also do less time. Okay, 5 minutes.
Ah, she said 2 minutes.
no, I'm now we make what is some constellation.
No waffles, I'm hungry. You too?
So we'll switch that off for here, 5 minutes, and then we can switch it
Yeah,
off
yeah,
again.
Where?
Yes,
Just do it for fresh air.
Good.
very nice and quiet.
But to the hill.
Do you know what 180 restaurant is?